One of the biggest risks to your future could be running out of money during a longer than expected retirement. Many people have not yet taken the time to determine if they will have enough assets to last through retirement. Our Retirement Income Evaluator can help you develop a roadmap and actionable recommendations. To learn more, stop by our office located at 162 South 2nd Avenue in Clarion. Give us a call at 223-9990 or visit janieclarion.com. Janie Montgomery Scott, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC. Icy Ink Screen Printing and Embroidery, located at 2043 Pennsylvania Avenue East in Warren. We offer screen printing and embroidery on apparel as well as graphic design, web design, photography, and custom frames, and specialize in youth fundraisers. We also offer photography services and custom frames. Check out our Icebox stores online at icyink.com or give us a call at 814-688-0034. Let's meet, drink coffee, and design some cool shirts. Be cool, wear Icy.
Elwood National Forge, with locations in Irvin, Warren, and Corry, has been a proud employer in Warren County for nearly 20 years and continues to be an active partner in the Warren County community. Elwood National Forge wants to wish the Eagles, Knights, and Dragons the best of luck on the court, in the pool, on the mat, and most importantly, in the classroom this season.
Buying, selling, or building a home? Then call Burford & Henry Real Estate today at 814-227-7355. For more than 15 years, Burford & Henry Real Estate Realtors have been ready to help you in your next property search. They are also the #1 agency selling more homes in the region than anyone else. And with their Showcase Homes divisions, their expert consultants can help you with building the home of your dreams. Check out Burford & Henry online at burfordandhenry.com. Burford & Henry Real Estate Services, something different.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into our 2022 District 10 basketball playoff preview. Guys, we were here about a year ago this time, and we're back. Brian Hagberg, Andy Close, Dave Sherman here with you for D9 and 10 Sports. Looking forward to what should be another fantastic District 10 basketball tournament, guys. I'm really excited.
Yeah, again, it's back to normal this year, right? You're not just getting the district champ into the state playoffs this year. It's everything feels as it should.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's get right into it. We're going to take a look at the girls' tournaments first. We'll start at the very beginning with Class 1A. Just two teams, Kennedy Catholic and Farrell, for this tournament. And not a whole lot to break down. These teams have met a couple times throughout the season. Guys, what's your take on this one? Who's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Kennedy won both regular season matchups fairly convincingly. I think they're a very good, very solid, well-rounded basketball team. I think they win.
They're here to win more than one game. This is a start of their playoff run. Agree?
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right, so the consensus is the Kennedy Catholic will be moving on to the state tournament. As we head down to 2A, we'll take a look at the bracket for the 2A girls. West Middlesex sits on top. We'll try to bring that up for you here. West Middlesex is on top. They'll take on Sagertown. We've got Maplewood at number 2, and they are going to take on Reynolds. Cambridge Springs is 3, taking on Seneca, and the 4-5 matchup is Cochranton and Mercer. So what should be a pretty solid bracket here, guys.
Yeah, I think you have 3 really, really good basketball teams here in West Middlesex, Cambridge Springs, and Maplewood. Of course, Cambridge Springs beat Middlesex last year for the title. I think any one of these 3 teams could win this, and it wouldn't surprise me.
You think it'll come up in conversation from the coach about last year's loss in the title game to Cambridge Springs as West Middlesex started their off-season program last year in April?
Yeah,
I'm sure it was mentioned 100 times.
Oh, absolutely. And I know, like West Middlesex, that's absolutely motivation for them. Now, again, 3 teams will advance to the state tournament, so a very good likelihood all these teams will. But let's be honest, you want to win a district title. I mean, that's, and Cambridge got it last year. They split with Maplewood this year. Those 2 teams very evenly matched. And of course, Middlesex kind of took control there in the South.
So the game of the bracket may not be the championship. It might be the Maplewood Cambridge Springs game in the semis.
Yeah.
And any thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was at the second Maplewood Cambridge Springs game. Each team won on the other's home floor. Maplewood won that game. Izzy Eimer had a couple of huge threes down the stretch of that game. But the coaches even talked about then that they had a pretty good idea that this could set up this way. So I don't really have a good feel for it. I think it's a coin flip.
It's a great one to go watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the winner gets the just rewards of trying to knock off West Middlesex.
Yeah.
So, but for the record, I have Cambridge Springs beating Maplewood. We'll see what happens in a week or so.
All right, guys. You have a dark horse in this bracket? Anybody you think could come out and really surprise some people?
I look at Cochranton. I mean, that's not a bad basketball team. Jalen McGill, Carly Richter got some nice pieces there. I just don't know if they have enough against Middlesex, a potential semifinal matchup there. But again, they're capable. I mean, they have good athletes. They have good players. So if I were to pick a potential dark horse, I think they would be it.
They could be a potential dark horse, perhaps in another year. In a different year. I shouldn't say in a next year. I mean in a different year. Unfortunately, West Middlesex, for them, for the 4-5 winner, is on a mission.
Yeah. You talk about 1,000-point scores all around. Teammates at West Middlesex, Emily Anthony, Carly Beatty, Izzy Eimer at Maplewood. You got Maddie Yonce at Cambridge Springs. Just so many good players between those teams.
Tradition and pedigree come into play here for sure. So program, a third word, strong programs.
Quarterfinal round gets set, or it tips off on Saturday. Semifinals next Wednesday, and the championship game will be a week from Saturday. It sounds like you guys are kind of thinking West Middlesex it's theirs to lose. Does anybody knock them off, or the Big Reds take it?
Dave?
I got the Big Reds. They're coming back strong. Last year was a major disappointment. This year will not be.
I am going to go Cambridge Springs. Actually, I think they repeat. Again, this is a tough bracket because all three of those teams are capable of winning it. But again, I think Cambridge Springs takes it again. I think they're very well balanced. Play great defense. All three of those teams play great defense, but I like them to get the job done.
The whole school just plays basketball really well.
They do. They really do.
I think it starts about second grade, ends about when they're 30 from Cambridge Springs.
Yeah.
So do you think that, you talk about that potential rematch with Cambridge Springs and Maplewood. Do you think whoever wins that game just gets an extra momentum boost from, you win the rubber match, you beat one of your region rivals going into the championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a possibility, although again, I think at today's point, West Middlesex is incredibly focused and motivated. So I'm not sure how much momentum you get from that. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously, we're already talking about, we kind of already have an eye on that game as a semifinal matchup. I mean, yeah, that's big time for whoever wins that game, obviously.
I agree. I just don't think it'll be enough to springboard them to a championship this year.
Top three teams in 2A will advance to the state playoffs. So district champion, like runner-up, and then whoever wins the third place game will be moving on. As will the top three teams in the 3A girls bracket. Fairview comes in top seed, unbeaten season. You were there, Indy, when they got a chance to clinch that unbeaten season. Yeah. Just what a remarkable year for the Tigers.
It really is. You talk about last year winning the first D10 title in program history. They followed up this year, with an unbeaten regular season. Only team, boys or girls side in District 10 to go 22-0. It starts with Hope Garrity, but this is a complete basketball team. They play tremendous defense. Obviously, Hope is a terrific player, getting to 1,000 points as a junior. Right now, she'd probably be my pick for player of the year in the district. But this team, man, does this team get after on defense. I think everyone, we all like to focus on offense. Defense wins championships. And, I think it's give up 25 points a game. It's something ridiculous.
They sap the joy out of the game.
Yeah.
For their opponents.
Yeah, they do. No, that's a great way to put it.
They sap the joy. And I think they're going to sap a lot of joy. We talked about this off camera. This is potentially the best bracket, on the girls' side. And there's competition for that. But, looking down through here, who would you least be surprised? Let me rephrase. we wouldn't be surprised if Fairview, was upset, and any of 3 other teams won the whole title.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Fairview hasn't lost a game. They're the 1
Sure.
seed. They're the favorite. But yeah, I think you have 3 other really good teams in this bracket. Mercyhurst Prep, who Fairview did beat twice this year, both competitive games. The second time they kind of jumped on them early. Mercyhurst Prep, mounted a little bit of a comeback there in the second half, but Fairview was able to hold them off. And then you look at Greenville and Lakeview, are both very good basketball teams. They split during the regular season. Talking about another 1,000-point scorer, Reese Gadsby from Lakeview. Greenville, Grace, Josie Lewis. Just really solid basketball teams.
There's similarities to the 2A bracket in this, where you have the power established. The semifinal games could be fantastic, and then who survives to get to the championship? What kind of momentum will there be if they're facing Fairview? And if Greenville springs the upset, all bets are off. Now it's a really fun bracket.
Yeah, but
unless you're a Fairview.
Yeah. But to me, you have, and not to discount anyone else in this field either, it's an 18 field, but to me, you have 4 really, really good basketball teams, and one of them is going to be left on the outside looking in as far as not getting into the state playoffs.
Which makes for great playoff basketball.
It does. It does.
Before we get too much farther, let's run down the bracket real quick. I neglected.
Yes, sorry about that.
So Fairview comes in the top seed. Lakeview's the number 2. Mercyhurst Prep at 3. Greenville at 4. Northeast at 5. Sharpsville at 6. Northwestern at 7. And Wilmington at 8. So it's Fairview, Wilmington in the 1-8 matchup, Greenville Northeast in the 4-5, Sharpsville Mercyhurst Prep in the 6-3, and Lakeview Northwestern in the 2-6.
And again, I shouldn't discount a couple of those teams either. I had the chance to see Sharpsville play. Really well-rounded basketball team. Coach Hubbard's done a great job with them. I think they've gotten better as the season goes on. And Northeast, a quality club as well.
And Mercyhurst Prep has had stronger teams than this year's version. And I also wonder if the those that decide the bracket slip Greenville to 4 to avoid the Lakeview Greenville matchup.
Yeah, we kind of see that. We kind of see it split by region, like 1,
Sure.
3, 2, 4,
Sure.
to kind of avoid that, which I like.
I agree.
Yeah.
So if you're looking down in these quarterfinal games on Saturday, I mean, like we said, just a strong bracket throughout. Which one of those quarterfinal games do you think has a potential for upset?
Again, I would go back to Sharpsville and Mercyhurst Prep. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think Sharpsville has the firepower, to potentially pull that off. So that would kind of be the quarterfinal matchup I would circle.
I have to agree. In the 4-5 game, Greenville Northeast, it really wouldn't be that big of an upset. So if you're truly talking upset, Sharpsville could knock off Mercyhurst Prep this year. Will they? My bracket says no.
So if you had to pick a dark horse, then you're going with Sharpsville simply based on seeding.
Yeah, I think
sure.
I would agree with that.
Same here.
All right. Fairview keep the unbeaten season alive and take the district title, or do one of these other 3 teams that you mentioned come away with the 3A championship?
I like Fairview. Again, they're such a great defensive basketball team, and I think among a sea of really good players in this bracket, I think they have the best player as well. Just a really complete basketball team. I think they get the job done.
Hard to go against an undefeated team, but for some reason I have Lakeview. When you're a great defensive basketball team that certainly travels to neutral courts and the opponent's courts, when you get to a neutral site for the championship, obviously the experience is there. Just a vibe.
Yeah,
it could go away tomorrow.
Hey, listen, I mean that's not a bad pick. I mean, again, that's a really good basketball team.
Do you think there becomes increased pressure on a team when you go into the postseason undefeated, knowing, and especially now knowing that if you take a loss, there's a chance that your season's done at that point? Does that create a higher pressure situation?
My answer is no to that. Whether they're 20-2, 21-1, or they have their sights on bringing home a trophy, the biggest trophy, the shiniest trophy. So the record, you're all 0-0. You're all undefeated when you hit the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree.
Again, top 3 out of 3A will advance to the state tournament, and that will take us to the 4A girls bracket. And if you've noticed, we've been putting some brackets up on the screen. You can find all of those at d9and10sports.com under the basketball playoff hub on our website there. So 4A girls, Fort LaBeouf is taking on Villa Maria, and Andy, you and I got a chance to see the victors up close and personal a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Really just solid basketball team throughout the lineup.
Again, they have their sights set on getting back to a state championship game. I think that run, this is just the beginning of that for them.
I agree. That's the goal. I also feel they won't get there this year.
Oh,
I've seen better Villa teams. Not that this is
no, they're really good.
I mean,
they're really good.
It's like picking your least favorite New England Patriots.
Yeah.
So time will tell.
Yep.
And they certainly challenged themselves. Went down a couple classes to play Kennedy earlier this year and kind of had their way with them. So I mean, it's just really tough team, and no disrespect meant to Fort LaBeouf and the
Sure.
Bison, but definitely have a tall task in front of them.
For sure.
Again, Saturday afternoon at Mercyhurst High School is when that championship game will be played. Winner goes on to the sub-regional on Wednesday. In 5A girls, another 8-team bracket. Quarterfinals get underway on Saturday. Warren comes in as the top seed, Slippery Rock the 2, Harbor Creek at 3, Grove City at 4, Franklin at 5, Conneaut at 6, Hickory 7, and General McLean is the 8 seed. And we're talking about this a little bit off air, but came into this season, and I think almost everyone considered Warren probably the favorite to repeat. And, after that phenomenal championship game against Slippery Rock a year ago, the Rockets lost a lot from that team, but again, come in as a strong 2 here. And the Dragons have kind of faltered a little bit down the stretch coming into the playoffs, losing 3 straight.
Listen, this is going to be, I don't want me to cut you off.
No.
This is, to me, this is a classic. Do you read too much into it? Or I think, I get it. I get it. It wasn't the end of the season they wanted. But what I compare it to is, for all you college basketball fans out there, a team that plays well throughout most of the season, then kind of scuffles a little bit at the end, as opposed to a team that's mediocre throughout the season, then gets on a run and wins their conference tournament. And they're the trendy team, and everyone kind of gets down on the team that was really probably the better team all year. I think Warren's going to use this as motivation. I think all things being equal, they're the number 1 seed for a reason. I think they are the most complete team. So I look for them. Does this carry over into the playoffs? I don't think so.
No, I agree, and I think they'll feel comfortable against General McLean. Again, no disrespect to them. And it's funny looking at this bracket, and this isn't the only bracket you can say it, but the year may change, but the names remain the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of where the number next to them.
Yep.
And Franklin's climbing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Franklin had a very good season.
So, I'll anticipate your dark horse question, and I realize they're a 5, but they're a choice that I could see. They played Warren in the semifinals, if I remember correctly, last year, and I remember them being young but talented.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what to do, which tells me they're well coached. They just couldn't do it. We'll tack on another year of experience. And, if they knock off Grove City, I wouldn't want to see them in the semis. And again, you mentioned Slippery Rock. I believe they started 5 seniors last year in that championship game. Could be wrong about that, but I know they were senior laden.
At least 4 for sure. I'm not.
But again, to your point too, the names remain the same. Warren, Slippery Rock, Grove City kind of taking turns back and forth, winning the district title over recent years, and look at them, the 1, 2, and 4 seeds this year.
And don't discount Harbor Creek. They're starting to hum a little.
Well, hey, they beat Warren, so they're feeling very good about themselves.
I'm told that might be Little Birdie shed some light on that one. So that Harbor Creek Conneaut game is a game you might want to get to.
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
But the Haggerty Family Event Center at 3:00, if that so tickles your fancy.
Mhm.
Lots of games going to be up at the Event Center on Saturday, including the Warren General McLean game. They'll tip at 4:30 or whenever the previous games get done. We always know, best laid plans sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
And with a schedule that starts, I believe, at noon on
Yeah,
Saturday.
when you're playing 4 games, it's hard not to get behind at some point, even though that District 10 does their best, and they do a great job. Sometimes, especially, I've seen instances like that where the first game goes to overtime and then you're already behind the 8 ball for the rest of the day. So,
oh yeah, and that's really all it takes. One overtime, some kind of delay, and again, somebody gets hurt, or you have excessive fouls, whatever. It just it doesn't take much to get behind, and then once you get behind, it's everybody gets pushed back a bit.
So if you're running late for one of these games after the first one, don't speed. It might be all right.
Again, so it'll be Warren McLean in the 1-8 matchup, Grove City Franklin in the 4-5, Slippery Rock Hickory in the 2-7, and Harbor Creek Conneaut in the 6-3. And I think that Franklin Grove City game is the one really in this quarterfinal at Mercer at 3:00 is the one that really stands out to me as a potential for just a fantastic ball game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fascinating to watch. Again, this Franklin team, I think, much improved, continue to get better and better. And Grove City's quietly put together a very good season as well. Again, a tremendous program.
They never sink too low.
No, they don't. And again, that's to your point. I think that'll be a really good game.
And the winner of that game is going to look at Warren and go, "Okay, Warren, let's go."
Mm-hmm.
Tip it off. So,
and like we said, they've got some film. You take a look at, obviously it's you can't necessarily do what Villa does because that's just a different animal. But you look at those games that McDowell played against him. You look at the games that Harbor Creek played against him. You say, hey, what can we take from that and apply it to our team and make ourselves better and come out and pull off the upset?
Absolutely.
So the number one seed wears a uneasy crown at this point, but in this case, literally defending champs.
Mm-hmm.
So do we see Slippery Rock making it to the finals, or do we see them going down? That would, I know you're asking the question, but looking ahead, I'm just curious.
I think they have a good chance to get back. I do.
If Harbor Creek, beats Conneaut and gets to the semis and has a matchup with Slippery Rock, if they get hot shooting, they're going to pose some real problems for anybody. So again, I'd probably give the edge to Slippery Rock, just experience advantage there. Rob's been down there a long time, and all those players have seen all that coming through and how you get to a title game, and they've grown up in that program and
they're used to success.
Exactly.
So I always said winning is cyclical, so is losing.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, all right, that will take us to our final.
Oh, did we pick our winners?
Oh, we did not pick our winners. We did not. Good call, Andy.
Go ahead, Andy.
All right, we'll pick your winner then.
I'll take the ones. I'll take Warren to repeat.
So do I.
Okay.
3 for 3. Yeah, no choice.
I'm not picking winners. I haven't picked winners yet, so I'm not picking winners. I'm the host. I don't pick winners.
Okay. Better stay out of the gambling circle.
That's true. So that will take us to the 6A bracket. Again, just a 2-team bracket here. It is McDowell number 1, Erie number 2. That championship game will be at 3:00 at Mercyhurst High School on Saturday.
And that's the way they'll finish.
Most likely.
Yeah. They did split. But McDowell's playing really solid basketball right now. I think they win.
Same here.
Okay. And then the winner of that game will play in a sub-regional on Wednesday, a week from Wednesday.
March 8th.
Today's Wednesday, March 2nd. It has been a long day. So with that, we are going to take a quick break, and then we will be back to break down the boys brackets. Again, this is our 2022 District 10 basketball playoff preview on D910sports.com.
One of the biggest risks to your future could be running out of money during a longer than expected retirement. Many people have not yet taken the time to determine if they will have enough assets to last through retirement. Our Retirement Income Evaluator can help you develop a roadmap and actionable recommendations. To learn more, stop by our office located at 162 South 2nd Avenue in Clarion. Give us a call at 223-9990 or visit janieclarion.com. Janie Montgomery Scott, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC.
All right, we are back here. Brian Hagberg, Andy Close, Dave Sherman, getting set to break down the boys brackets in the 2022 District 10 basketball playoffs. We'll start again with 1A, again, just a 2-team bracket there. Farrell, the top seed, going to take on Jamestown. And that championship game is Friday, March 4th. Time and location to be determined. Guys, who comes away the winner here?
Well, Farrell beat them twice. The second game was only a 9-point game, though. Jamestown does have a couple of 1,000-point scores, so you can never discount that. And Cam Kaiser and Peyton McElhaney, but I think Farrell gets it done.
I have no counter to that. I know they get it done. So with apologies to Jamestown. So
And Jamestown's had they've had a very solid season.
they sure have nothing to be ashamed of there.
All right, let's turn our attention to the 2A bracket now. Those quarterfinal games get underway Friday, 2 days from now, Friday, the 25th of February. The 1 seed, Kennedy Catholic, number 2, Rocky Grove, 3, Sagertown, 4, Cambridge Springs, 5, Eisenhower, 6, West Middlesex, 7, Mercer, and 8, Cochranton. Kennedy and Cochranton will meet at Farrell, Cambridge and Eisenhower at Meadville, Rocky Grove and Mercer at Oil City, and Sagertown, West Middlesex will be at Farrell. Guys, this is another one of those brackets where you've got a lot of teams here who could make some noise, but a prohibitive favorite at the top.
Yeah, I think after Kennedy, it gets really interesting, right? Because there are a lot of teams from Region 2 in there, and they kind of took turns beating up on each other this year. It's funny talking with a couple of coaches in the region, just how important home court advantage was, this year in that region. It's always important, but it seems even more so in that region, between, some of those schools, obviously, you look at, Sagertown, the region champion, look at Eisenhower, Cambridge Springs, a lot to decipher there. Cochranton, Jabin Walker missed some time. He's back now. They're a much different team with him. So very interesting indeed.
Cochranton never gets they sap the or they squeeze the most from their abilities, from their talents. Always had a ton of respect for their coach and their program out there. Unfortunately, they're also going to be facing a talent-heavy Kennedy Catholic team. These other 3 games, though, are, and I know Rocky Grove is strong. They're 2 for a reason. You have some interesting matchups here. Cambridge Springs and Eisenhower being one of them, of course. They just played recently, and Eisenhower knocked them off.
Split.
I believe I was talking to a coach who said we've only lost 1 game at home. We've only won 1 game on the road at a certain point in the season. So that just proves what you're saying about the home court advantage. Well, nobody's on home court now.
But I mean, to your point, that Rocky Grove guy, you got another 1,000-point score, and Isaac Clayton, DeAndre Whitman got some really nice pieces there. They've had in that region, they're in that region, with Kennedy Catholic and Farrell, and they've put together just a really, really solid campaign.
So if Sagertown comes to see them in round 2, after playing Kennedy Catholic a couple times, they're not going to be intimidated by
No, they will not.
So.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be a great game. Who you got in Cambridge Springs, Eisenhower? Next question.
It's an interesting matchup, right? I think Cambridge Springs has great size. I think Eisenhower's gotten better as the season has gone on.
Eisenhower's dealing with an injury.
Yeah,
their depth just got.
I think I like Cambridge Springs, but really close.
Okay. Does it matter which team's fan base travels better? We talked about home court advantage playing such a huge factor in that region, and that's how they split. Each team won at home. How big an advantage of it is it to get your fans to travel here?
It's an advantage, but I'll tell you this: what's great about high school playoffs is somebody comes down and hits a shot, and you hear this roar that just reverberates. Opposing team comes down, hits a shot, same thing, same decibel level. So whoever can get rid of those jitters first, and that's where I have concerns for Eisenhower. Cambridge Springs, it's just another year. How far are we going to go this year?
And again, those
when
those quarterfinal games are really important because one win and you're into the state playoffs.
Sure.
District 10 taking 4 teams, in 2A.
I think it has the potential to be a very, very good basketball game, though, at Meadville. 6 o'clock. What night?
Friday night. Yeah.
Friday night.
All right. So, obviously Kennedy's the favorite. Is there anybody in this bracket that knocks them off?
I don't think so. I think Rocky Grove, under the right circumstances, can challenge them. But Kennedy's the 1 seed for a reason they have that 3-headed monster, the seniors, Malik Lampkins, Rudolph, Elijah Harden, Gio Magestro. I mean, they're really tough. They're just a really solid basketball team.
There may be years where they're vulnerable. This is not one of those years, in my opinion.
So then that kind of answers the question of who you guys think is going to win this tournament. All right.
Yeah,
So,
Sacred Town's a lot of fun to watch too, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see them come back up. They've
Yes.
been down for a while, and not this year.
all right. So that will take us to the 3A boys bracket. Franklin, the top seed. Seneca, the 2. Girard at 3. Northeast at 4. Mercyhurst Prep, the 5. Greenville at 6. Northwestern at 7. And Erie First Christian, the 8th seed here in this bracket.
Yeah, I just Franklin is the
Very
1
good.
seed for a reason. They got to the state quarterfinals last year. I think they're 20-2. They don't have a loss in District 10 this year. They went out, played a very aggressive schedule, beat the likes of Aliquippa. Just the team you talk about, just a well-rounded, athletic basketball team, and man, can they score. Easton Fulmer is a terrific shooter, terrific scorer. Damon Curry, just a sophomore.
Lefty, right?
Yeah, fantastic
Yep.
player. Luke Guth Jr., tremendous athlete, committed to Vanderbilt to play baseball. Cole Buckley. I mean, this team is just loaded. Just loaded.
And they're not a team that has a weakness per se, where you go, well, you can beat them on the boards, or well, if they go cold from 3, they're well-rounded, I guess is the best way to describe them, and that serves you well in the playoffs.
Yeah. Now there is a Seneca team here as well. Yeah, as the 2
Sure.
went unbeaten in region play, and that's a very good basketball team as well. I think you have a clear 1 and a clear 2 here. And then I think there's a little bit of separation at the top after that.
Girard, year in, year out, can just grind you. They're another team that can take the fun out of the game. Don't be surprised if they knock off Seneca.
Oh, okay.
So, but Franklin is clearly they have designs well past the district championship.
Yeah, they do. They do.
and as they should.
yeah.
And I'd be curious to see where they'd be seated if they were in the 4A bracket.
That would
Yeah.
be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'll get to the 4A in a minute, but
Sure.
that would be a ton of fun.
That's how good I think they are.
Yeah. And they are fun to watch. They are fun to watch.
So, all right, looking at these quarterfinal matchups, then is there a game here? The 4-5 always seems to be really close. When you're seeding, especially when you're seeding high school, those kind of 4-5 matchups are always going to be tough. Who gets the 4, who gets the 5. But is there one here in the quarterfinals that you guys are looking forward to?
Yeah, I think Girard Greenville could be interesting. Again, Greenville's got some nice pieces there. Been a little up and down this year, but I think that Greenville Girard game, kind of a little bit of a contrast, I think could be very entertaining.
I agree, and I already have them springing the upset. There, I think they get past Greenville, and then they, again, hunch, vibe, whatever you want to call it. Call me tomorrow. I probably fill out my bracket differently, and yeah, I think I just like the way they play year in, year out. But they're all playing for second next to Franklin, in my opinion.
All right, so no dark horses then? Nobody's going to come out and dethrone the Knights?
Now, I'll go Franklin over Seneca in the championship game.
I got Franklin over Girard.
All right, well, that'll wrap us up for 3A. We'll move on to the 4A tournament, and this is one you guys were talking about before we went on air as one that you guys look at as potentially one of the best brackets across both boys and girls tournaments, just top to bottom. And so we'll take a look now. Number 1 seed Fairview, number 2 Grove City, Harbor Creek at 3, Hickory at 4, Warren at 5, Oil City at 6, Slippery Rock at 7, and Corey, the 8 seed.
Pick a bad game.
Yeah.
They'd all be worth the price of admission to go see.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Corey being the 8th seed, and they got, Logan Jonkus just recently committed to Pitt Bradford, a terrific shooter, terrific scorer. There's not a bad team in this bracket. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Fairview, I think, is the most complete team. They've had the best regular season. They're the 1 seed for a reason. A Region 5 champion, a very good Region 5. They stood out. But again, I think you have up to 5 teams that could potentially, win this thing.
I'll agree with that, and I'm getting ahead of ourselves a little bit by saying I think Harbor Creek does win it. I don't see Fairview. There's my hunch again. Either that or I'm hungry. So.
Yeah, but again, I mean, you look at those quarterfinal games, the 4-5 game, Hickory and Warren. That was, I think, Hickory ended up winning that game, I think, by 11. But that was a 3-point game with 2 minutes or under 2 minutes to go, and then Hickory goes on and is within a bucket of winning a state championship.
Yes, and they may not have been the best team last year. I think Harbor Creek was better than Hickory.
But yeah, and again, I think that just speaks to how the quality and the depth
balanced,
of these teams. You look at Grove City, Slippery Rock. I mean, that's a fast day. Slippery Rock's playing very good basketball down the stretch. Harbor Creek, Oil City handed Fairview its only region loss. Now Fairview got their revenge in a big way later on.
Sure,
but still, I mean, that's quality and depth.
Fairview is a very good basketball team. They just strike me as vulnerable. They didn't wow me. They're just methodically beat you. That's fine.
I'll tell you who does wow me though athletically for Fairview, Logan Frazell.
Yes, for sure.
Between him and James Sitter, I think they're a fantastic 1-2 punch. And again, a team that just gets up in you defensively. You do not get easy shots against Fairview.
They're long too,
yes.
Which if you're a shooter, you don't like to see long.
So again, you look down these quarterfinal matchups, and I mean, really, there's not a bad game to be had in this bracket
for sure. Fun bracket,
and that doubleheader at Sharon with Hickory and Warren at 6 and Grove City at Slippery Rock at 7:30. That could make, and these should note these the 4A quarterfinals are on Thursday, but that's a doubleheader there that's going to be worth the price of admission.
Yeah, and Grove City, another team playing tremendous basketball down the stretch, knocked off Hickory. Hickory boys a little bit like the Warren girls, maybe not playing their scuffled a little bit down the stretch, but again, they are still the defending champions. Someone has to beat them.
Spoiler alert, I'll be at the Hickory Warren game. I have a cousin in Hickory. So so I might get a meal out of it and two
there
good
you go.
basketball
There you
games.
go. What could be better?
Right.
Well, and I'll tell you, you talked about that matchup between these two teams in the semifinals a year ago, Andy, and really what the difference was just Hickory's size, not length, but beef. They're just physically a bit stronger than Warren, and it paid dividends for them down the stretch. And I think that's something that they can, really take advantage of, especially here in the playoffs.
Yeah, and again, it starts. You look at a kid like Jackson Pritz, obviously a phenomenal football player. When you talk about that size and strength, and again, I think that's where Hickory, to your point, does have an advantage.
But I have Hickory beating them.
But you look at each of these teams; they all have strength, right?
Sure.
Fairview is such a great defensive team. Harbor Creek, same thing. Jaden Rocco, I think, is a terrific player. Played really well for Harbor Creek. Warren, you look at very talented backcourt. Hickory's got the championship pedigree. Grove City is playing as well as anyone right now. So pick your poison.
I don't think anybody's going to be afraid to see anybody in the second round or in the finals, and I don't think we're going to be surprised by anybody who ends up there. So
it's hard to pick a dark horse in this bracket.
Corey?
I mean, maybe Corey, just the 8 knocking off the 1 in the quarterfinals.
I mean, I don't see it.
I don't see, but you know what I mean. But when you look at all these other matchups, would you really be surprised at any of the lower seeds winning?
I think Oil City beating Harbor Creek would surprise me a little bit.
They beat them. Didn't they beat them once already this year? Who did Oil City knock off?
Fairview.
Right. That prevented the undefeated season. So if they can knock off Fairview, and sure, maybe it was an off night for Fairview and an on night for Oil City, why couldn't it happen against Harbor Creek?
Yeah. I just Harbor Creek's playing really good basketball right now.
That's why it won't happen.
All right, so Dave already said you've got Harbor Creek winning it. Andy, what's your take here? Who comes away with the crown? I
like the top-seeded Tigers. Again, it's a loaded field. I just think, defensively and, they just the way they get after. Now, Harbor Creek and Fairview did go to overtime when they played last. A potential to see that matchup in the finals, who knows? But I do like Fairview and what is a very talented field.
It would be fun to just bounce to all of these games all the way to the final. If you had to pick a bracket, right? This is the one.
Yep.
So it could be a great year out in Fairview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girls
It already
Yeah.
has been a combined I think 42-2.
Yeah,
That's not too shabby.
that is not too shabby.
And again, just to note, these quarterfinal games are Thursday. That's tomorrow as we're recording Wednesday night. And the semifinals are Tuesday and the championship game next Friday. For 4A, top 3 will advance to the state tournament. And that will bring us now. Our final 2 brackets are each 2-team brackets. In 5A, it is Cathedral Prep against General McLean. They'll play for the championship tomorrow night at Mercyhurst University, scheduled to tip at 7:30 or whenever the 6A game finishes. As we mentioned before, some of these doubleheaders you get backed up, especially when there's championships involved. Trophy presentations and celebrations and medals and things. But so that Cathedral Prep General McLean will be the nightcap. And guys, who we have winning here?
Well, here's the thing about all these teams, right? I think what stood out to me is that they're very balanced, like across the board. Prep, obviously the defending state champions, different team, but same expectations. I think they beat McLean. They beat them twice during the season, both competitive games. I think they get it done again. And McDowell and Erie split during the season. That one's a little bit tougher of a call for me. I'll go Erie close.
We both agree on Cathedral Prep though over GM.
Yeah.
Okay. Who'd you have over Erie McDowell?
I have Erie beating McDowell, but I mean that could go either way.
So do I.
Yeah.
They're both. Neither one is powerful this year. Neither one is bad. I would say neither one is having a one of their stronger years, which should make for a very good
but again,
basketball
still
game.
quality basketball
Sure,
games.
for sure.
And that one should be a lot of fun.
Sure. They don't load up with weaklings.
No, they do not. Both of those teams, yes, they are. Both those teams play very aggressive schedule. They even outside of District 10 as well
for games like this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So again, the 6A final is 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Thursday at Mercyhurst University. 5A final will tip shortly thereafter. So you guys both have Erie in 6A and Cathedral Prep in 5A.
We do.
All right. Well, that's it for the bracket rundown. And action gets underway. Like we said, tomorrow night starts Thursday. We will have a plethora of coverage available across District 10. Also, a ton of stuff coming out of District 9 as well as their playoffs are underway. Andy, you and I will probably be traveling all over the place over the next
looking forward to
weeks. Looking forward to it. Should be some really great basketball. Again, we encourage everybody, get out to as many of these games as you can. Support these kids, support the players, support the schools. And it was kind of an odd year last year with limited attendance, and it was nice to see championships won on home courts. That was a nice twist, but we're back to neutral sites and full gyms, and let's fill them up.
Don't take these games for granted. I think we did in the past, and our worlds got turned upside down.
Sure did.
And the next thing you know, we're excited to be, in some cases when we saw the professional playoff, half capacity, quarter capacity. Let's fill the gyms. Be safe, be healthy, take precaution, but go enjoy the game.
Yep, going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, that will wrap up our 2022 District 10 basketball playoff preview. For Dave Sherman and Andy Close, this is Brian Hagberg saying thank you for watching, everyone, and stay tuned, D9 to 10 Sports, for all your playoff coverage.
Elwood National Forge, with locations in Irvin, Warren, and Corey, has been a proud employer in Warren County for nearly 20 years and continues to be an active partner in the Warren County community. Elwood National Forge wants to wish the Eagles, Knights, and Dragons the best of luck on the court, in the pool, on the mat, and most importantly, in the classroom this season.